好，下面呢，我们想听一听这个国外的这个氢能源对于我们中国有什么启示，所以我们特别高兴有请到 Mr. Fons 是荷兰领事馆的科技创新官员，来给我们分享一下荷兰氢产业给我们有什么样的一个启示。好，开始啊！因为这个疫情的原因，那么他的领馆呢是在广州，而昨天晚上呢，这个 Mr. Fons 专门给我打电话。他说：“我这次很高兴能参加这个会议，但是呢，因为在广州，所以来还不方便。”好，咱们就开始。
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 女士们、先生们，早上好。I'm afraid that because of the current COVID situation in Guangzhou, I'm not able to be present live at the conference this morning. That's why I pre-record this video and I'm with you digitally. First, let me please introduce myself. My name is Fons Klein Tuente. I work for the Netherlands Innovation Network in China, and what this means I will explain to you in a moment, because today I will talk to you about Netherlands Innovation Network. Of course, I will talk about hydrogen in the Netherlands, and I will mention something about events that we have planned for this year. So, Netherlands Innovation Network. When many of you think of the Netherlands, I'm sure you think of pictures like this, the tulip fields, windmills, but of course the Netherlands is much more than just that. Netherlands is a small country, and also the population is rather small. It's similar to the population size of Shanghai or Beijing. We're a rich country though, ranking 18th in the world of GDP per capita, and we're also a very happy country, ranking 6th in 2020. We're a very competitive country, so World Competitiveness Index in 2020 we ranked 4th, and we're also a very innovative country, ranking 5th last year in the Global Innovation Index. So the Netherlands Innovation Network is located in 16 different countries, in 24 different cities, and in China we're represented in Beijing, Shanghai, and in Guangzhou. So what we do is we try to strengthen the innovation capacity of Dutch companies, research institutes, and public bodies through knowledge-intensive international cooperation, and we try to inform Dutch organizations about international trends and developments in the innovation domain. Our target groups are R&D and intensive companies, research-performing organizations such as universities or applied research institutes, and also relevant government bodies and agencies at national and regional level. We focus on technology-driven innovation, science and technology development, and innovation policy in all the different top sectors. So of course we also organize many different events. Several of them that we organized last year is a hydrogen webinar series, 5 different webinars all about hydrogen in the Netherlands and in China. We had a hydrogen delegation to the city of Foshan. We had an online signing ceremony. We also had a series of offshore wind webinars. And mentioning offshore wind, I do need to briefly mention, because it's very closely related to hydrogen in the Netherlands at this point. And please let me explain. So last year in the Netherlands, we installed nearly 1.5 gigawatt of new offshore wind capacity, making the Netherlands, after China, the second largest market for new capacity in 2020. Now, why do I mention this? It's because the climate target in the Netherlands is that by 2050, we should be completely carbon neutral. In China, the goal is 2060, so in the Netherlands, it's 10 years earlier. So the electricity sector has a deal with the parliament that by 2020, 70% of the electricity should become from renewable energy, and in 2050 should be all renewable. There is a total coal ban by 2030, and for those of you who like to drive cars with an internal combustion engine, by 2030 the Netherlands is only allowed to sell zero emission vehicles such as hydrogen cars or EVs. So let me talk a little bit, to further understand this, let me talk a little bit on the current electricity mix in the Netherlands to better understand the climate policy. The graphs are in Dutch, but I will walk you through it. In green, you can see the amount of renewable energy. So on the right side, in 2020, you can see that the renewable energy was only 3%, and in 2019, this was 18%. And in 2030, as mentioned before, this will be 75%. Now, most of this renewable energy in the Netherlands comes from wind energy, and then the majority from offshore wind energy. Because Netherlands, as mentioned, is a very small country. And many of these offshore wind projects actually already have a very clear link with hydrogen. And that's why I picked out several of these projects, and the first of which is the North H2 project. It's the largest European offshore wind to hydrogen project, and it is based in the north of the Netherlands, in Groningen. North H2 aims to produce green hydrogen using electricity from about 4 gigawatt of offshore wind off the coast of the Netherlands by 2030 and 10 plus gigawatt by 2040. This project was launched in February last year by Shell, Groningen Seaports, GasUnie and the province of Groningen. The North H2 partners intend to jointly establish a system of offshore wind farms, electrolyzers, gas storage and pipelines in order to convert offshore wind power into green hydrogen, store it and transport it to industrial clusters in northwestern Europe. Another offshore wind project very closely linked to hydrogen is the Poseidon Project. This is the world's first offshore green hydrogen plant, which is an initiative of Next Step, the Dutch Association of Decommission and Reuse, and TNO, the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research, in close cooperation with the industry. Through this project, the wind energy can be used to generate hydrogen, which can then be transported onshore along with natural gas via existing pipelines for customers in the industry, the transport sector and for Dutch homes. Because as many of you will probably know that it's much cheaper to transport electricity in the form of hydrogen than to transport it in the form of electricity. So if the electricity generated offshore is offshore already transformed into hydrogen, it's cheaper and more efficient. And now let's continue with the main topic today, which is hydrogen in the Netherlands. And why does the Netherlands have so much interest in hydrogen? Well, first of all, we have excellent infrastructure, harbors, electricity, gas infrastructure, road railways, and all is well connected with Europe. There is a high demand because of the energy-intensive industry concentrated in 5 main industry clusters. We have a huge production potential, as I just mentioned, because of the offshore wind in the North Sea. There's excellent knowledge infrastructure with universities, research institutes, and consultants. And we already have had many important milestones for hydrogen in the Netherlands. So 2 years ago in June, we had a climate agreement. Then followed in January 2020, we released the hydrogen roadmap. And afterwards in March 2020, the release of the government strategy on hydrogen. These are all public documents, and if you're interested in reading them, I will be very happy to forward them to you if you reach out to me after the presentation. Currently in the Netherlands, there are already a number of fuel cell vehicles in the Netherlands. At the moment it's 390. It's planned by 2025 there will be 15,000 and 3,000 heavy-duty vehicles, and by 2030 there should be 300,000 fuel cell vehicles in the Netherlands. At the moment there are 5 hydrogen fuel cell stations, and there are 50 planned for 2025. Maybe to some of you these numbers doesn't sound like very much, but please keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, the Netherlands is a rather small country, so nationwide is still quite impressive. Now in the Netherlands, Mainly, at the moment, hydrogen developments are focused on two regions. One is in the north and one is in the west. In a moment, I will explain to you some more about projects going on in these regions. But why I will focus on these regions is, you can also see from this picture, because in the north and in the west, all the pipelines are clustered together. This makes these regions very potential for hydrogen development. And why I will only focus on these two regions mainly is because there are just way too many hydrogen projects currently in the Netherlands. There's just so much going on, it's impossible to mention all of it. So first, let me briefly mention something about the Hydrogen Valley in the north of the Netherlands, because this was the first region to receive a subsidy for their project, and it concerns a subsidy of 20 million euros with a public-private co-funding of 70 million euros. And this brings total project size to around 90 million euros. The project is unique in that it covers and connects the entire hydrogen chain with a geographical region, 30 different sub-projects, and the projects supported focused on sectorial integration, the large-scale production of green hydrogen as a raw material for industry, storage, transport and distribution of hydrogen, and its application for energy supply for both industry and the built environment in mobility. And this is, as I mentioned, a European project, so it's not just Dutch companies active, which are on the left of this slide, but also European institutions, which are shown on the right of this slide. And this is what it looks like. So you can see in the north the offshore wind producing the green hydrogen. You can see the different buses connecting the different regions in the north. There are the hydrogen refueling stations. There's a hydrogen train planned in the future as well, linking everything together, the entire hydrogen supply chain in the north of the Netherlands. Another project that I would like to mention is in the west of the Netherlands, namely the Port of Rotterdam region. So Port of Rotterdam is one of the most energy-intensive regions, not only in the Netherlands, but in the whole of Europe. And the industry here uses a lot of energy. But most of the energy now arriving here finds its way to Germany and other countries. And only a third of energy that flows through Rotterdam is used in the Netherlands. Rotterdam really is already an energy hub of northwestern Europe. So Rotterdam is setting up now projects that together realize all parts of the hydrogen supply chain. The production of carbon-free and low-carbon hydrogen, green and blue, a pipeline infrastructure in the port area, the use of hydrogen in industry, road transport and inland navigation, the import, storage and transit of hydrogen to other industrial regions, and the development of a trading platform for hydrogen, in various coalitions of companies and in consultation with and support from the government. And this is what it looks like. Offshore wind hydrogen production, offshore wind hydrogen production plant, import from abroad hydrogen going through the main pipeline in Rotterdam, transported to the rest of the Netherlands, the local heavy industry that can use the hydrogen, and also inland shipping using hydrogen as fuel as well. So this makes the Port of Rotterdam the hydrogen backbone of the Netherlands, and together with the Hydrogen Valley, making the Netherlands the hydrogen backbone of Europe. So of course, the Netherlands Innovation Network in China is also very active to support the Netherlands' hydrogen developments as well as China's hydrogen developments. So for this year, we also organize many events and projects, and here is the list of what is planned for this year. So we have an offshore delegation to Guangdong and Fujian, as well as a series of offshore wind webinars. We have hydrogen roundtables upcoming, as well as an updated hydrogen report in the Netherlands and China. There will be a series of hydrogen webinars again, as well as a delegation to Foshan, and we will also have a detailed hydrogen matchmaking between Dutch and Chinese hydrogen companies. I hope this gave you a nice introduction and overview of hydrogen developments in the Netherlands. And if you have any questions or would like to know anything more, please feel free out to contact me. Thank you very much.
那么很高兴，这个河南领事馆的科技官员 Mr. Fons 给我们介绍了河南这个氢能源的一个基本的情况。那么河南呢，这个大家知道它没有太多的自然资源，它没有这个石油，也没有煤炭，但是呢，它有天然气的资源。那么它又在这个海滨，属于海滨的国家，所以呢，它的这个海岸性比较长，所以有非常丰富的海上风电的资源。所以呢，它利用海上风电来制氢。那么由于它这个河南国内的这个天然气的管网非常的发达，所以呢，它把这个海上风电制氢也做成了一个商业模式。当然，它没有研究它这个是不是能产生盈利啊。当然，我们可以在群里面啊，我们可以在我们亲戚未来的这样一个群里面呢，他这个 Mr. Fons 呢也在群里面可以有一些问题跟他进行一个交流。他看中文是看得懂的，只是讲中文讲的不是很流利，所以讲英文讲得很好。那么呢，咱们可以在群里面跟他交流，加入我们那个小青妹妹，是吧？让他拉进这个群，可以随时跟他交流。